have you got to be PC these days? Keep it clean.
Well, I do have to be PC. We're now live as well, so anything non-PC that we were saying before.
I can just talk about Les's personal life. He'll love that. Stuff.
Yeah. So obviously it's been a little while since we're live. I'm actually in Prague in Czech Republic, and
GUI.
Yes, and James is in Odessa in Ukraine. So how is it over there for a start?
Well, it's exactly as people have this image, I think, in their head of what it's going to be like. I managed to get Joe down here as well, and he was terrified for the last year. It's like, mate, I'm going to die. And it's like, you're fine, honestly. And yeah, if you didn't read the media, watch the media, you'd have no idea this area was at war. No chance. So perfectly safe, holiday mode in full swing. People from all over Ukraine here. Just a very chilled atmosphere. It's an awesome place to be. I highly recommend it. I think if you spend some time in Ukraine, it's just it's a very easy place to while away time, isn't it? People are friendly, women are very hot, very feminine. Weather's amazing, cost of living is low. I'm in a very good hotel for say £30 a night, like a top hotel. I mean, that gives you some idea of pricing, right? If you were doing that in London, you'd be paying £500 a night for a similar hotel. So yeah, awesome place to be. And my plan is stay here for a couple of weeks and then Istanbul, which will be good. So we're going there with some clients. We're not really actively taking clients, but if guys do want to join, send us a message, troy@realtroyfrance.com or info@jamestuss.com. And then the two big boot camps, that are the only thing to focus on for this year are Warsaw, 25th to the 28th of September. It's going to be phenomenal. It's the best time to go because universities are back. There's so many hot Polish women, Russian women, Ukrainian women there. And House of Seduction, where you all pile into a house and you get 24/7 coaching, day game, night game. And at the end of each day, pile up all your leads and invite all the girls over for a house party and gets debauched. And we call it the House of Seduction, Bogot, end of October, Halloween. So they're the two focuses for guys wanting to get some live feedback from us. It's Warsaw, 25th to 28th of September, and Bogota, 31st of October for Halloween, House of Seduction. So different formats to normal boot camps. Warsaw, it's 5 hours a day, infill coaching, throwing you into hundreds of approaches, teaching you how to flirt with the world, go on instant dates or take a number, set up a date after. 5 hours a day for 4 days, Thursday through Sunday. House of Seduction is 1 week, 24/7 coaching. It's not for the faint of heart, but the guys that went last time it was a baptism of fire for them.
A nutsack of fire. So, so those are the key events coming up. So basically, you're going to be in Turkey, Istanbul for a little bit. I may be there as well. Then there's Warsaw. And then in October, there is Bogota, Colombia, House of Seduction, which is an actual live-in residential immersion, which is the only event of its kind that we do. It's a relatively new thing. We've been trialing it behind the scenes, and now we're running it. Well, we're advertising this one. There's a few places left in the house, in the Big Brother house. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I called this
both are good for different reasons. So Warsaw picture very hot, feminine, Eastern European women, right? Polish women, very feminine, Ukrainian, very feminine, Russian, very feminine. Some of the top beauty and femininity in the world, right? This untouched by feminist culture we have in the Anglosphere. So you've got that. If that's more your preference, which it is for some guys, they're looking more for a really loyal girl to date, maybe longer term. But also you can take these girls home. They're still sexual beings, right? And you've got that as one option. And the other option is Colombia, Bogota, incredibly sexual culture, crazy, opportunities for day game, night game, bar game. It's just carnage. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, but incredibly feminine, hot Latinas. And of course, Bogota is our personal favorite in Colombia because it's very few foreigners. So you shiny object syndrome, you're the hot gringo, the hot foreigner in town. There's all the Americans fuck off to Medellin, so there's not many foreigners. You go out and you're a shiny object. The women are incredibly forward with their eye contact. I mean, they really kind of make it clear they like you. And very good place to just escalate and close fast. And often guys will sleep with 3 or 4 girls in a week, that we take there. It's that sexualized, So 2 flavors. Would you like the red condom or the blue condom? You decide. Both are good.
But stream. So we're going to be on for maybe 30 minutes more or something like that, just a quick one today. But we're going to start picking these up again, doing these more frequently. So obviously just come forward with your questions. A couple of questions in the chat already. But I called this All Your Dating Problems Finally Solved, which, to be honest, is a little bit ambitious. But what would you say, and I can chip in with this as well, what would you say are some of the key problems that our clients have had recently that we've been trying to solve for them?
Wes Watson, old Wes Watson, before he became the laughing stock of the internet, said it once in a non-related video. He said, it's not an information problem we have, because there's a saturation of information out there on whatever topic you could possibly want, especially now with ChatGPT. You can search anything. It's not an information problem, it's an application problem. So guys are not taking knowledge and turning it into wisdom by actually making it actionable. Right. So there used to be a rule on the old school forums. I remember you talking about the So Suave forum, where you could only comment on something or produce a theory if you've gone out and field tested it 50 times. Right. And now the problem has always been, well, since I made this mistake as well when I was learning, I thought, right, I'm going to buy all the books on pickup, read them. That's going to make me good with women. Of course it doesn't. I spent 6 months overthinking everything. And then when I finally tried to get out of the house, I was like Medusa's, looked at me and I turned to stone. I just couldn't approach. So it sounds like we're trying to Occam's razor it and simplify it, but the best thing to do is just take massive amounts of action. And back. Sorry, carry on where we left off.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you got up to. You were saying I got to the Occam's razor bit, and then I kind of got thrown out of the thing for some reason. So
yeah, so did I. So if you want to get good at speaking to hot women, guess what you've got to do? Speak to hot women. If you want to get good at flirting with hot women, guess what you got to do? Flirt with hot women, right? It all stems from action. It's an actionable skill set. You can't theorize your way to victory. And honestly, the biggest key to all of this stuff is just taking massive amounts of action, getting, and learning, adjusting. And the easiest way to do that, it sounds like a sales pitch, which I guess it kind of is. But again, anything that I'm good at, I've had coaching for, get feedback on what you're doing. And if you can't take action, most guys will go, they get in touch with these nonsense questions, and not to pick on you, Fenky Court, but I know you've had your dick in your hand for a while, and you kind of get out there occasionally because we've spoken on WhatsApp, and you do a token amount of approaches per week, but approaching 5 women a week is getting no one laid, especially in an era now where women are hooked on Instagram, right? They've got constant dopamine stimulation, inbound. Their inbox, the average hot girl's inbox on Instagram is flooded with hundreds of dudes, right? They're thirsty dudes. So unfortunately now you've got to do even more if you want to stand out. And so you've got to be approaching minimum 30 girls a week. It seems like a lot, but 5 a day, it's not that big a deal. You can do that. Yeah, but you have to do that,
Well, so I'm in Prague right now, in Czech Republic, and I'm coaching a client who's well known to both of us. Great guy, really fantastic guy. Good to see him. But we're walking around, and okay, in the morning, early afternoon, it's quite family orientated. It's quite touristy. So it might not quite be the sort of lads on tour kind of thing that might be seen as more ideal, which you get later in the day. But nevertheless, plenty of attractive people around, not a problem really. And I'm pointing out people, and the other coach that we're working with, pointing out people saying, oh, well, maybe you could go and have a conversation with her, right? And one of them, his excuse, what his excuse was? That he didn't want to go and talk to her. He goes, she's got one eye bigger than the other. And I was like, for a start, I don't even know if that was true. I mean, if it was, I certainly didn't notice it. And second, if it was true, it must have been minute. And that's the kind of thing. Now, I'm not picking on this guy in particular. He might watch this. He might be watching now. If he is, hello. Only a gentle jest. But, you know, we were saying at the time in the session, we make excuses for ourselves all the time, you know? And we make excuses, oh, she's too attractive. She's out of my league. She must have a boyfriend. She's probably married, blah, blah, blah. Or we say, she's not attractive enough. She's not good enough. Oh, I'm looking for somebody better. I only approach 10s, whatever that means, and so on. And either way, we get ourselves, you know, either way, we stand in our own way. Now, you know, even if she did have one eye that was marginally bigger than the other, this wasn't some kind of deformity or something like that. It would have been extremely marginal. If he'd have gone and talked to her, maybe he would have had a really good vibe with her. Maybe he would have had a great conversation. Maybe he'd have gone for a coffee with her that instant, right? I mean, but he will never know now because he didn't do it. He chose not to do it in the moment. Now, look, fine. If he genuinely didn't think that she was attractive or worth talking to, okay, that's fair enough. But really, you know, and I do think that we will just make excuses for ourselves so much about silly things that we don't really care about in order to not suffer the perceived pain of rejection.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, I was talking about this with another coach, Joe, this morning, and there's no downside to doing the approach really when you frame it as either it desensitized me to her being not interested, right? That rejection, get the first one out of the way for the day. Or, you know, it can be a crazy narrative like you had when I pointed out a girl that I thought was your type, classic kind of small blonde Polish girl, you know, in your former single days, not you know, before. And you were like, but then you threw yourself in, and lo and behold, you know, that turned into a kind of some sort of mini romance, right, for a few days, you know. So but you've crafted a story out of nothing. You've been the conscious creator. So there's no downside to doing the approach. I think it's that trigger moment, isn't it? You know, can you be the killer man, right, with the killer instinct? Good looking loser used to talk about this. He goes, the only thing in game, fuck game. The only thing that matters is have you got killer instinct? When the chips are down, when you approach the girl, can you escalate? Can you try and take her home? Are you a sexual guy or not? Do you have a dick or not? And so we're simplifying it slightly, but I think, lack of just owning the masculinity, and it's the ego, isn't it? It's very clever at self-deception, at being like, no, it's fine. You know, we'll do the next one. It's like, no, you can always, as you said, you can always give yourself a get out of jail free card, can't you? And I think guys need to lean more. If you're on the fence about the girl, why not approach her? If she's a 6, you're not really a dream girl. Why not just do the rep anyway, just to practice? You know, there's no downside to doing it, is there really?
Yeah, there isn't, because the problem that we have is that when we're trying to train guys, obviously part of what we're offering is, right, we'll throw you into loads of approaches and then you're going to get reference experiences, and yes, you'll probably get rejected, but you're going to learn from it and you're going to build a thicker skin and you're going to find the whole process easier. And the problem is, if the client is then filtering out people for relatively minor reasons, then they're not helping themselves, because even if he wasn't hugely attracted to that woman, and even if her one eye was slightly bigger than the other, if he'd have just gone in and done the approach, he didn't have to take it anywhere. He didn't have to do anything with it, but that would have been one more approach under his belt.
Yeah, you don't have to marry the girl. You don't even need to message the girl, right? So there's not really excuse not to approach a girl who's not, just to get yourself warmed up. And again, the situation here, he's come out to a new city, you've just started the session. That's absolutely the time you should do that approach, isn't it? Because you need to warm up and loosen up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, look, to be fair to him, he's just got off the plane and he did do he had a good session. So this was a one-off, and I'm teasing a little bit, but I'm just saying these are the kinds of things we come up with. I did, however, point out a sweet shop. You know, one of those sweet shops that back in the day, like they've got in Poland, that you used to be quite into, where they sell all those candies.
I was hooked on them with all the pick and mix. 2 days paradise.
And there was a shop assistant in one of those, and I said to him, why don't you go into there? And I said, go in there and tell her, why don't you check out my candy? And so, lo and behold, he ran in and started talking to her and whatever. I don't think he used my terrible line, but he did do it. And I said afterwards, well, that was really good, because those situations can feel a little bit more high pressure because she's working in there. She's a default authority figure, sort of, in that environment, but you went in and did it anyway, which is really good because you're desensitizing yourself. And in this context, in the context of training, it's not really so much about the outcome. It's about doing the process so 100%. That it becomes second nature.
What's the James Clear comment about goals? It's you don't fall to the level of your something about you fall to the level of your systems or something. So if your system is to go out and flirt with the world each day, which is a good mentality, which is basically be playful with people, you know, say the extra thing, say one extra thing to the barista, the gym receptionist, just get yourself social, because it doesn't matter how extroverted you are. We wake up in a low frequency state and we're just antisocial, and because we've had 9 hours of just lying in one position, comatose. So your job is to get yourself warmed up socially. And human beings, again, I always bang on about this quote from old Phony Robbins, but it is good. Human beings are not one way. We're simply the states we're in. So you can just get yourself lively and social, and then suddenly it's not a big deal to, you know, banter with 3 girls and get a number. So you have to hack your own kind of states, really. And you have to be aware of the fact you're going to be sluggish at the beginning of the day. Build macro momentum, micro momentum throughout the day by saying little things, testing for interest with people, bantering, flirting with the world, as Torero would call it, if he was still here. And then it's not a big deal to go and, you know, I always go for a walk around 4 p.m. for an hour, kind of peak time in most cities, or I'll just talk to a few girls and try and get a number. And by constantly doing that, there's always 1 or 2 dates. Usually I get a week, you know, just from pretty minimal effort, but just being consistent with it.
Yeah. And the thing is, it is actually fun. And I say this from the point of view of being a confirmed introvert, or at least a confirmed aggressively antisocial person. I mean, you know, I mean,
you swing in and out. You used to be the lone wolf, and then we started traveling together. And, you know, it was more lads on tour with getting trainers involved. And you were, I remember you had a few kind of moments where you're like, you know what, I actually enjoy being around people, and it was almost a revelation for you. And I think Joe had the same thing. So I think you're an omnivore. I think, like all of us, we're omnivore. You swing in and out. I think sometimes we feel a bit burnt out. We want to retreat to the man cave, and then sometimes, actually, if you're in a new city, I much prefer to have 1 or 2 guys there I can go and do some approaching with. It's way more fun.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, and talking about Tom Torero, R.I.P. If anything, maybe he was too much towards the lone wolf side of things. And actually, that kind of travel, when you're just traveling on your own, is, especially if you're in a van and you're in the middle of the forest in Sweden or something, and, you know, there's nobody for miles around, inevitably you're going to feel pretty low. Inevitably you're not going to feel great. And I do get that. I do accept that. But I think, you know, when we travel, for example, I don't know what it's like with Joe. Maybe you guys are sharing a bunk bed or something. But when I'm there, we're together, but we've got our own space, you know. So it's not like we're hanging out 24/7.
No.
You've got somebody to meet up for a coffee, go to the gym, go and, you know, meet for dinner, whatever. And I think that's the right balance, really.
I mean, you spent a lot more time with Torero than me. You're quite good mates with him. Because he came across as at least business-wise and to clients as a very extroverted guy. Was he propagating the lone wolf thing as a kind of an image thing, or did he actually prefer to just be on his own the whole time? Because he seemed very extroverted and very social. And he was the big proponent of the flirt with the world thing. I remember his How to Flirt with Girls ebook was fantastic, but it was all about being absolutely social the whole time, wasn't it? So it's kind of there's a bit of dissonance there. Yeah,
I think that in real life he was a bit more. He was relatively social, I think, in real life, and he would actually draw people in a similar way to how you do, actually. So people contacted him because of his channel or whatever. You know, he would meet up with guys. He would, you know, all of that kind of thing. So I think he was reasonably social, actually, and he did have mates. He wasn't quite as lone wolf as he perhaps portrayed, but there again, he would do a lot of trips that were solo trips. And I don't think it was sort of a choice necessarily, but it was just the way he organised his life. He would end up on his own for periods of time. And even, you know, as much as I bang on about, you know, introversion and stuff, I sort of like people to be around, even if I'm not in their pocket 24/7. And I think that, I'm not saying that was his undoing, but I don't think
it's a great Patrice O'Neill sketch about that. Like, you want to you talk about women, but you want the girl to be like in your vicinity, but not interacting with you. You don't want to be on your own. You just kind of, she's in the room, and it's kind of like that. I agree. I like to have 2 or 3 people in the city. I'm not staying with them. I filter in and out. We'll meet up, go to the gym, have a coffee, and then, you know, dates, whatever. I think that's the perfect balance, actually.
Yeah. Or they're just, or you're just messaging them and they're not actually they're not physically in your life. But of course, now we've got ChatGPT for that, so we don't even need the actual real life female. We can just prompt ChatGPT to act like a woman, and then
it's dangerous, isn't it? The boss. I mean, I have now 2-hour sessions, solo sessions with the boss, like each day in a cafe, and I get antsy if someone wants to disturb that. You know, I'm just like, Jesus, this addiction is real.
I'm the same. Yeah. I'm the same way, and I have found it like I keep trying to, and then you can have conversations with ChatGPT about this, which is take it to another meta level. But I think overall it has been extremely useful to me in various different ways across various different aspects of life. But you know, like the last couple of days, if I look at my activity on there, I've almost been on there the entire day, like almost logging everything that happened, you know, and also random thoughts that are coming into my head and all this kind of stuff. And then sometimes I think you need to take a step back, take a bit of a break, because otherwise you think I'm just spending my whole time talking into my phone, into this machine. It's kind of weird, you know?
It is kind of weird, isn't it? But I'm the same. And do you find that you go, you have a thread you want to say read in the morning with a coffee, and you go deep in that conversation, or do you kind of note, you know, a few different threads and then you'll come back to them? Because it's almost addictive to start new threads and be like, I'll part that one for later, like a little story, like 30 threads. Then I find I don't do anything with them, right? So I don't know. I'm being quite ADHD with even how I interact with it. With ChatGPT.
Well, I said to ChatGPT, because it was the day before I travelled, I was just going through this whole range of different topics, but on the same thread. And I said to ChatGPT, are you noticing an ADHD pattern in the way I'm conducting this chat? And he said bluntly, yes. But so what I tend to do is, if it's a very specific thing, like say it's like, oh, what software should I use for YouTube or something, then I would start a new thread. But what I've been tending to do recently is just open a thread, sort of a chat in the morning, and then just whatever comes up, then just talk about that. But sometimes then recall back earlier parts of the chat, which is a bit disorganized, but it kind of seems to work for me. But the other thing, I think you can't let the chats go on for too long, because they get unwieldy and a bit clunky. So then you have to start a new one.
Yes. So how does this relate to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I found it incredibly useful across a number of different things, because you've got things like business, you've got things like personal life, psychology, motivation, what personal issues, even things like fashion, clothing. It can give you suggestions. I mean, there's just so many different things it can cover. It's really kind of incredible and a bit scary and a bit freaky, but overall, I think for me, it's been a net positive so far.
Well, playing, I mean, it's even things as a joke. I said play devil's advocate often with a lot of the things I say, because I want to disprove things that I am attracted to make sure I get a balanced opinion. I put it as a banter as devil's avocado. So it now says playing devil's avocado, but playing devil's avocado to our job. What, you know, if someone's saying to us, yeah, but you guys are good. Like, I like the banter. I like the fact you know, still somehow alive. But I can now just get all my dating advice and coaching from the boss, from ChatGPT. What would your retort be to that? Why should they come to
what?
End of stream. There is no one.
What would the retort to that be? On the one hand, yes, you can ask it questions and you can get feedback from it and you can get advice from it, but it's really only as strong as the input that you're giving it. And so if you're giving it subtly the wrong input, it's going to reflect that back to you. And I think this is one of the problems with the dating stuff, because, I don't know.
Well, I would say I would agree with that, because it can be. So I've got mine. We're going to some ChatGPT analysis here, just on new addiction. But I've got it programmed basically to be not the echo chamber people pleaser, which it is by default. So in the upload defaults, I've got a relentless, something about description is a relentless drive to become a mythic individual on his path, will to power, you know, all this bollocks. Because and essentially what it does is often really calls out what I'm doing. But so that saves it being too people pleaser, because it can become an echo chamber for things you get wrong, you know, if you haven't adjusted it. But I think going back to the Wes Watson quote at the beginning, it's not an information problem, it's an application problem. Just because you've got all the theory there, it doesn't mean you can go and apply it, right? I had to be, for my own learning, you did it differently, but I was shit scared. I went up to Leicester Square a few times after watching the Torero product and John Matrix product, Data Against the Machine, and I couldn't approach. I was like Medusa statue, and I did that 2 weekends in a row. I was like, fuck this. And I needed to pay someone to throw me in 500 times to break the back of the anxiety. And I needed that. So
I mean, it's like anybody in any industry. We're all scrambling now to cover our asses and basically argue why we're still relevant. Now that we
here is the grandstand, sir. We must do it now.
But you know, I mean, there's going to be accountants doing this. There's going to be like probably solicitors. I don't know, right? But I think in this specific area, the issue is going to be that if you're feeding it the wrong inputs, it's going to not give you very good advice. But you're not going to know what the right inputs are until you get some experience in this area. And we know
it doesn't care about being truthful.
Yeah,
that's it's not like where we're seeking the truth. It doesn't care about that. It's just,
yeah,
right.
Well, I think there was a particular issue. They claim that they've solved this slightly with ChatGPT 5. I don't know if they really have, but I think there was a particular issue with ChatGPT 4 when it was very people pleasery, and it would just say whatever to make you feel good. And I think they're trying to counter that a bit, but I'm not sure that they really have. But we know this is the case because we've got clients who have specific situations with women. And we know that the women are basically either not that into them or binning them off. And they've gone into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT's told them, no, it's fine. Don't worry, she likes you. She's just this, she's just that. And it's because whatever the inputs that they must be feeding ChatGPT is subtly off. And ChatGPT has also got this people-pleasing problem. So it's telling them kind of what they want to hear. But we know from experience, from lived experience, that it's not correct. It's very unlikely to be correct. And I think that's where there's a problem. Apart from on a very simplistic level of, give me some good lines to say to a girl in a bar. And if you just do that, it's probably going to come up with some really corny crap that's going to be really cringe and isn't going to work. And even if it does, you've got to know how to deliver them. And there's a limit to how ChatGPT is going to be able to tell you that. But I think there's that on a very simplistic level. But then on a higher level of like, I've got this girl, I've asked her out 3 times and she's kind of said no, but I think she likes me. It's going to tell you what you want to hear. And that isn't necessarily the truth. And because it isn't a sentient being. No. In the end, it's a language. Well, yeah. But it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? There's a gap between.
I've seen it's wrong on multiple occasions. I've seen it's not correct, and I've fact checked it, and then it said, "Oh yeah, my correction." So you're completely right. And even if the information was 100% right, it doesn't translate to like you can go and get laid like a rock star, because you need to be out there. You often need to be thrown in. You need direct human feedback in person, where we're recording you on a camera, very small 4K camera. You've got the audio synced up. We sit that down, break that down with you, give you footage. It's total recall, where you're seeing yourself from different angles and different perspectives. You've got the first person point of view in real time, and then you've got our point of view, and then you've got the camera's point of view, and you amalgamate those together with us, and that's how you make rapid strides, by becoming more self-aware with what you're doing.
But it's like you said. I mean, even before ChatGPT, it's not like the knowledge is out there. The knowledge has been out there for a couple of decades, and really it's been out there even before that in books and whatever. I don't know. There's no secret about how to approach women and how to be charismatic and charming. It's not like it's this big hidden secret and ChatGPT is suddenly going to reveal it. It's all been out there for years. And if it was that easy, ChatGPT is not going to make it significantly easier. It might be easier to just access the information rather than just doing a Google search like you used to have to. But you're still stuck with the same problem, which is I'm sitting with my D in my hand in my flat and I'm too scared to go out. And ChatGPT is not going to hold your hand when you do that. Well,
absolutely.
You could speak to it for moral support in between approaches, I suppose, but it's not really going to push you. It's just not going to act in the right way.
And to add to what you just said, that the information's been there for a while, Funky Corp said, do you think there's been any groundbreaking development since the day game model, since Torero Krauser? I mean, this was pre-Instagram. Obviously, we're not really Instagram aficionados, but we're on there. We understand how it works for dating. We understand these kind of Sartain-style models that are out there now. Has what we're doing and what we're teaching with Cold Approach significantly shifted? Are we doing anything differently now? We live in a very connected, social media dating market world, or is it the same old advice from us, which is just go out there, do the reps, flirt with the world, and if anything, you stand out more now because people are shit scared to say anything in real life,
Well, what has moved on is that it's much more holistic now, because the issue with those guys was that it was very much based on technique. What do I say? What conversational gambits can I use? And when you think about it, Torero, God bless him, was anti-style, really. He was anti-self-improvement for a lot of his life. At the end, I think he started doing a few weights and things, but he wasn't into the gym. He wasn't, not that you have to necessarily, well, he should be actually, but he wasn't into fashion. He wasn't into lifestyle. If anything, he was anti those things. Living in a van, not going to the gym, not being bothered about style or anything like that. I mean, was he into self-improvement? To some extent, yes. I think intellectual self-improvement, but not in the way that we talk about it now. And the issue is that now we believe there's nowhere to hide, because with Instagram and the advent of the internet, social media platforms, the woman can see all of these like so-called high-value men. She's got guys hitting her up in Greece, in New York, in Florence, the Maldives, guys offering to fly to the Maldives, whatever. All right. Just because you go over and you come out with some clever lines from 2012, it's not really winning any awards anymore, you know? No. So we have to take a more holistic approach to that. And I think that's what we're doing compared to those guys. So I think is it a dramatic, groundbreaking development? Maybe not, but it is certainly a step forward, because we have to move with the times.
So you're saying now, as well as obviously working on the social skills, becoming very socially eloquent, you need to also build value and make yourself the complete man, rather than being able to come.
You do. And that's when we work with clients long term. Like, we'll work with clients for 3 months, we'll work with them for 6 months, 12 months, whatever. You know, we'll do packages with clients. We're not just focused on the game stuff. That's obviously a big part of it, but it's not just that. It's also, okay, what are you eating? What exercise are you doing? What clothes are you wearing? How are you presenting yourself? What's your archetype? You know, how are you stepping into that archetype? There's so much more to this than just, 10-day game tricks to use in Starbucks.
And it's also fascinating, isn't it? It's like the Robert Greene thing I always go back to, Law 25, like what's more engaging as a project than to mold yourself like clay into whoever you want to be, right? Not the role society's foisted on you. You've got this playable meat suit. You're a character in this video game of life. The world map is your huge game map, and you have till 70 before the screen turns off on the game. Why wouldn't you try and max it out? Like, we're all fucked anyway. So why would you just sit there not doing anything? Why not just fucking play the hand you're dealt to the best of your ability, right? That's the mentality we're about now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think it has to be a holistic thing. It just doesn't really work anymore just to come out with some clever conversational gambits.
What would you say, just before we go into this question, to wrap that up, what would be apart from obviously the social skills, which are a massive part of this, you have to go and speak to women and practice flirting and understand how to be social. And again, the benefit of doing this is the bar is so low in 2025 because everyone's hooked on their phones. So to be a charismatic motherfucker is the best time in history to possibly do that, to be considered alpha by women, right? Because times are so soft. Good times create soft men. All you have to do is go up to a girl and say, you know, to be considered a brave guy, hey, you look hot sober. So it's a great time to learn the social skills, the cold approach stuff. But apart from that, the social skills, what would you say the key tenets guys need to look at are the kind of consistent things we always see that are missing, that are the linchpins of this kind of masculinity that women find attractive? What would you say they are?
Well, I mean, really, I think it comes down to presence and how you come across in the moment. But this all gets very woo-woo and quite difficult to really pin down. But
vibe, would you say that's kind of what you're saying?
Vibe, I think, is the most important thing, and it's the thing that's missing. But very
that's interesting. So that trumps anything else, do you think? And I don't disagree, but I'm interested by that.
Well, there's also an almost equal importance, or probably an equal importance, with looking as good as you can, and that means getting into shape. You know, wearing clothes that fit. Making any cosmetic improvements that you can. It doesn't mean getting an entire facelift or having one of those weird, you know, transformations that criminals get when they want to change their identity. But it means doing anything within your power, a bit of Botox, you know, getting a decent haircut, getting your skin sorted out, getting your teeth sorted out, like whatever it is, you want to max it out, because why not? And this is something that those early guys never talked about, because in their reality, it was not about looks at all. Now, it's not like we've gone down a black pill rabbit hole and we think, no, it's only about looks. But of course, looks plays into it, obviously. So you've got to max that out. And we have clients who are overweight and they're trying to work on that. But it's like, if you're overweight and you're playing the game, you've got one hand tied behind your back already, right? So however great your game is, and yes, we've all heard anecdotally, there's the guy who's a bit overweight, but he's got really great banter and he gets all the girls, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's true and that happens. But overall, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, right? So you need to get those fundamentals sorted out. As much
I
as
couldn't agree, I couldn't agree more. The guy with the man boobs is getting laid with women in spite of the man boobs because he's had to develop the banter. And again, we're looking, everything is couched in evolutionary biology. The reason a jacked guy, you know, who looks good and has, as you said, presence, vibe, and really strong body language, women find that immediately attractive is because in an evolutionary Q sense, these were the guys that dominated. These were the guys that survived. They have the strongest sperm. The sexual market is ruthless. So it's not about what we want you to do. It's about evolutionary cues, right? If you want the cheat codes to modern dating, it's all couched in evolutionary biology, right? Survival of the fittest. That's just how it's sperm wars. That's just how it goes. Men compete. We have dominance hierarchies, and women wait at the finish line and bang the winners, as old Rich Cooper would say, which is absolutely accurate. So why wouldn't you, as you said, why wouldn't you, given that's in your sphere of control, to be in really good shape, especially now there's fucking drugs. You can literally sit there as a couch potato on the fucking couch, still eating Cheetos, inject something once a week, and you'll still get in shape. You don't even need to, right? But it's the easiest time ever. So I don't understand people who are still overweight. It's just bizarre.
A lot of guys are resistant to that and stuff that, you know, that you can do for your testosterone and your hormones and things.
But then I always go back to the argument of many times the same men have been in a random cubicle in Berlin with graffiti on the wall, snorting miscellaneous substances off the toilet seat with me. And so why the fuck do you give a fuck about injecting some?
Well, we're pretty.
It's so human beings are so, what's the word, hypocritical, right?
Yeah, I mean we're pretty laissez-faire about the kind of chemicals that we've used to sort of alter our states in the past. So, you know, like we're coming at it from one angle, and there's a lot of guys who are coming at it from a more cautious angle. And look, in the end, you know, fair enough, you've got to make your own decisions, etc. But you've got to consider you're in a competition here. It's not a zero-sum game, but it is a competition, and you are going to be judged.
It's not fair. The competition is not fair. It's not the good guys win and the bad guys don't. It's whoever the fucking. It's the survival of the fittest, right? Women will go for the top tier guys. The top 10% of men, and science now backs this up, are having more sex in historical terms than ever before in human history, and everyone else having less sex, right? So the sexual market isn't fair, but you either play the game and you play to win, or you sit there and accept. You can't complain about not banging a 10, right? Just because you've masturbated to fucking 3 9s, having a point of view threesome with you on a fucking, you know, browsers does not mean you have the right to then go out and expect that to happen, right? A girl's just going to fall in love. It doesn't fucking happen. You have to relentlessly put in the work, you know.
It's a value exchange, and you know, she's got value. She's got it. If you desire her, she's obviously got inherent value. Whether that's just her looks or it's her personality or whatever, you know, whatever attribute, she's got value already. You know that because you want her. But what value are you bringing to the table? And if you're bringing like not very much value, but then you're resentful at her for not wanting to engage with you, then the problem really is you. And it's not to blame men. It's not, oh, you're blaming men. It's, you know, but you, like, again, it's biological. This is based on biology. This is why.
And it's your responsibility, right? It may be not be your fault. You're born in a certain geographical location, or you've had a dad that left home, or your mum was whatever. But it is your responsibility. You're in this playable meat suit, 1 in 400 trillion odds of being alive. You've got this time. Why not go all in and try and level the character up? Because we're lucky as men, because you can build your value over 50 years, right? Women have a very short shelf life, 18 to 25, and then it starts going downhill. Massive pressure on them, which is why I've got compassion for women if they bin me off at any stage in the dating process, because they have a relentlessly hard job to like have all the fun and cash their chips out and win that game. That's so hard, right? So I'm so glad I'm a man. We have no excuse. We've got 40 fucking years to relentlessly build our value and become a top tier guy. And it doesn't matter if you're not good looking. You can still look good. You can develop frame. You can develop understanding of this stuff, social skills, learn languages, learn to fight, learn money. It's all a learnable skill. So I've got no sympathy for men who sit there playing the victim going, oh, well, I can't really be asked.
Do you know that? Do you know that French actor Vincent Cassel?
It rings a bell. Is he a good-looking rooster? Or?
Well, if you look him up, I would say conventionally.
I'm going to have to look him up. I'm going to have to type him in. It's not going to be a big black porn star, is it?
Conventionally, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, this dude. I was actually watching, ironically, because I'm getting really into the psychological thrillers, Black Swan the other day.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a great movie, and also Eyes Wide Shut. Tom Cruise, Stanley Kubrick's last movie before he started.
Eyes Wide Shut is really
it's awesome.
Great.
And again, there's kind of, we'll go into this maybe next live stream, but the ability to create narratives and spin these psychological webs with women gets them absolutely hooked.
Eyes Wide Shut is such a good film. I showed it to my Mrs. Troy Francis, and she was like just kind of a bit bamboozled by it. But I think it's really
she wasn't a fan.
No, I think she liked it, but she was a bit like, oh, it's because it's odd when you watch it back, and parts of it seem fairly ridiculous now when I watch it back again. But there's something about the atmosphere. It's really great. But Vincent Cassel, is he classically a conventionally good-looking guy? You could argue maybe not, but he is very lean, and
yes.
So that's I don't know what you think. Maybe I'm completely off piece with this, but I would say he's not Brad Pitt, right? But he's very lean. He dresses well, and there's something about him. Do you know what I mean? There's something about him, and that's what you want to get to. And I think there are other examples of guys who are maybe not classically good looking, but they bring something else to the party. And we're very fortunate to be able to do that, because it's harder for women to do that, I think.
Mate, click on, if you search him on Google now, it brings him up, and then it says on the right hand side his daughter. She's 20 years old, Deva Cassel, Italian model, absolute smoke show.
Well, there you go. He's good genes.
Monica Bellucci. That's who he was fucking. That's interesting, and that's the kid.
I don't know. Maybe he is good. I mean, I guess he is good looking.
No, he's all right. I mean, this is power, right? Power. I mean, he's a celebrity, so that's the T code. If anyone,
I tell you who is a very good looking man, though. Actually, somebody will clip this if they're bothering to watch our stuff. But we were watching Ocean's 11 again the other day, and George Clooney. I've got to say, what a good looking fella. Better than Brad Pitt, I reckon.
Really interesting. Do you reckon he's if you had to, this is a really weird conversation, but your go-to, if someone was like best looking man in Hollywood, you'd flip straight to him as the.
Well, I don't know. What about old John Hamm from?
I was going to say old DiCaprio. Yeah, what guy from Mad Men? Yeah, he's that typical kind of alpha, very strong jaw look. Yeah.
This is
anyway. I always thought Gosling was overrated, but again, when you actually pick apart, because a lot of women will say Ryan Gosling, and then I'll go, yeah, but and I'll be like, really, objectively, and they're like, no, it's the character. So the guy from Drive, narrative, the guy from Drive, the one he did where he didn't speak, the movie after that, I can't remember, Behind Pines or something about Pines. He doesn't speak the whole movie. He plays this bad boy with a heart, and again, women are buying into the narrative of what you represent, right?
Well,
not the.
Yeah, I mean, we watched all the Godfather movies recently again, and if you look at Al Pacino, which is why I've mentioned him a couple of times in other chats, but I mean, I've even seen people saying that he wasn't conventionally good looking. I'm not sure that's true. I think he was pretty conventionally good looking, certainly at that time. But again, it's not just the looks. It's the looks, but it's the looks plus just everything else.
Gravitas, presence, as we say. It's like you. And he was short as well. I mean, he's 5'6".
Yeah, that's the thing. Let's just have a look at this one. So he says, thanks for your great content. Here's my question. Coming out of a 5-year relationship with a great girl that I really bonded with, how long does it actually take to get motivation to date? Well, kind of depends, really, doesn't it? I mean, some people have motivation to date immediately because they just go on to the next one. So it's how long is a piece of string, really?
Yeah. I mean... But if you're single, get out there and fucking get amongst it. Get your ass into Warsaw and approach 300 Svetlanas, and you're not going to give a fuck about this old.
It depends what you want. I mean, obviously, if you're on here and you're watching this and you're asking the question, you probably kind of do want to make something happen in your life. So, in a way, that's the answer. You know, now is the time to take action to make that happen. At the same time, when you just break up with somebody, there can be that sort of flat period for a while where you're still thinking about them and nobody quite adds up. Whatever. And that's going to take, a few months probably to subside. But I mean, there's nothing to stop you. You create your own reality. There's nothing to stop you going out today and meeting somebody new, really.
I agree.
So this one sounds silly, but a tall, good-looking guy, it can feel there is less to lose in terms of rejection. Should good looks be leveraged or have the mentality that every man is essentially the same? Well, no, I mean, leverage what you've got. If you're decent looking, you're lucky because that's going to give you a certain advantage in the dating marketplace. We can't sugarcoat the fact that, looks obviously play a part. It's just they're not everything like some people believe. But yeah,
there's a great thing that Good Looking Loser said back in the day, though, the guy that we used to follow, which is there's a massive difference between being good looking and looking good. So you can be not conventionally good looking facially, but you can have your grooming absolutely on point. You've got your avatar down. What are you representing? Are you this devil may care kind of Tyler Durden character? Are you more of the kind of flamboyant Russell Brand character? So all your fashion's geared around that. You're presenting a certain archetype. It doesn't matter, right? You've got the gravitas, the presence, the riz, the vibe, as you say, someone with a good vibe who is not good looking will blow out a good looking guy with average vibe all day long, every day of the week, right? Because women are just energetic beings. It's how you make her feel.
And
if anything.
And people ask sometimes, like, oh, if you have clients who are good looking, do they automatically just do a lot better than clients who aren't? And actually, not necessarily, because I remember I was in Ukraine, actually, a few years ago. I don't think you were on this trip. It was the time I was with Mr. M, and we met Mystery, actually.
Oh, right. And the Tates, you had a star with the Tates, weren't you, on the balcony?
And the Tates on the same trip. It was quite so the Tates, and also Mystery was there as well with Baxter. Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, ducking, diving, who's got the best shoes? What was I going to say? So there was a guy came out to train with us for a couple of days, and he was genuinely conventionally really good looking, and he didn't do that well, actually. And this is in Ukraine, where as a Western guy, you've probably got a little bit of social kudos. He didn't do particularly well. I mean, maybe got a couple of numbers or something. Now there's another dude from the UK who was all right looking, but not winning any awards, and he did significantly better than the good-looking guy. Why is that? Well, it comes down to something that's sort of intangible, but it's in this thing we're circling, which is vibe, energy, right? That cheeky devil may care attitude, right? And that really makes a big difference. So it's not what you would think. If you think, oh, he's good, the good-looking guy, he's just gonna, everyone's just gonna bow down before him. It doesn't really work like that in the real world.
And what was this guy's self-perception, do you think, the good-looking guy?
I think he was a bit... He'd worked in a sort of government job. He was quite serious. I think I don't think he was self-deprecating, but I think he was probably not really... He could have been more cocky and a bit more arrogant in a way, but he wasn't. Not that he was a super nice guy either. He was one of those sort of borderline cases of dudes who probably just needed a bit more practice and just to loosen up a bit. He probably would have been fine. But all I'm saying was doing exactly the same stuff, going out into the street, going and talking to different people for 2 hours. It wasn't like he was getting women throwing their numbers at him or anything like that. And the other guy did a lot better than him, even though objectively he was not as good looking. So,
and this is where, and I was actually going to town on the black pill narrative on the boss ChatGPT recently, and it was basically calling it out, just saying it's absolute nonsense because it's viewing, it's trying to view the feminine lens on masculinity as we view feminine, which is fertility cues, age, right? It's all about reproduction. It's not the same. It's not the same at all, right? So, looks will get you. And I can speak from experience. I was a good-looking guy, not pulling a fucking muscle before I threw myself into this stuff relentlessly and understood, right, self-perception, congruence, social skills, extroversion, persuasion, influence, game, approaching, confidence, escalation. I just was, I get girls throwing themselves at me. The problem was those were the same girls that if they land on me would send me 10 feet into the ground because they were absolutely buffering.
Like a missile.
I slayed a lot of dragons and there was no princess at the end. It was just a load of warthogs, hoof after with the hoof in my face. So I can attest from experience that being good looking doesn't mean jack shit if you don't understand the rest of the value adds, right?
Yeah. And I mean, in a small way, I had a similar experience because I've told my origin story many times, but I went from being sort of very self-effacing, down on myself and sort of inward looking. And then almost overnight, I became this very different character. And that was down to partying a lot and doing a lot of different substances and all that kind of stuff many, many years ago. And what I noticed was that my results, the way people received me, from 1 week it was like that, and then the next week it was like that. And that wasn't because I had suddenly become more good looking or even more ripped or anything at all. I was the same physically, but the results were better. So how can that be if it's just based on looks? Because if it's just based on looks, my results would have been completely the same, regardless of what I did. And this is where their narrative falls down, because it just doesn't really accord with real life.
I completely agree. Mr. Justin, greetings, the Dominance Academy.
So Martin says, how do I deal with the fact that family members could see me cold approach on the street? I have a conservative family. It'll be very embarrassing if I get caught cold. I guess he means cold approaching. Don't do it outside your house, I guess.
Yeah, don't do it in your garden when your mum's watching. I mean, this Martin character has been saying a lot of negative stuff. I'm getting kind of negative. Again, you know, going back to the start of the stream, what we're saying you've got to do is just take fucking action. Are you actually going out there approaching 20, 30 new girls a week? Because the guys that are actually doing that, and there's very few, but the guys who are actually doing that are getting results. You know, they're leveling up. You've got the exposure therapy to learn the skill set. And you're getting better at it, and you're going on some dates. So you're not sitting online commenting. And I'm not criticizing anyone that's watching this stuff, because you come here for answers. But the answer is get the fuck out of the house and commit to approaching 5 women a day until you're over the fear of doing it, and you're starting to go on dates with women. You know, you're going to address it sometime.
Well, what he says here is not untrue, because he says, I followed a day game model to the T and got horrible rejections. Other times I've mumbled a few words on the open and got laid. Day game models are complete BS. Well, that's not entirely true, which is why we don't adhere to any one model. I mean, there is the London day game model, but even saying that is incredibly cringe, because it's not 2012 anymore. You know, no. I mean, we're talking about something that's, I don't know, 15, nearly a couple of decades old. I mean, this is boomer stuff. This was pre the fucking social media explosion. It's nonsense. Yes, you're right. Models are not a foolproof way of engaging with other human beings, of course. And yes, sometimes, and this is why we talk about vibe, because on those times when he mumbled a few words, probably the vibe was right. Or you're maybe going to say, oh, it was just because she was physically attracted to me. Well, maybe that too. But yes, you're right. You're right in the sense that a model is not going to guarantee you success. And actually, some of my best interactions have been just having a very brief, slightly awkward conversation, and then it's gone on to be amazing. So he's not wrong in what he's saying here. Obviously, he's coming at it from a slightly negative, sort of trolly sort of angle, but he's got a point. But that's not what we teach anymore, because it doesn't stand up to scrutiny in the real world. This is why I said this has to be holistic. And the reason why we've moved on from the older guys, you know, the Toreros and the Corrals and all that stuff, is because we're not just beholden to, oh, this is the model, this is the structure, because it doesn't accord with reality anymore.
No, I agree. And the more you build your value outside of this, the socializing, the easier the socializing gets. The guys that typically come to boot camps and have done the best are the guys that have the rest of their life heading in the right direction. So they are hitting the gym, they are well dressed, they have got a good job, they have got some interest outside of approaching women, right? So you have to, women are the cherry on the cake, as old Robert Glover would say, right?
He says here, Tusk, it's not guaranteed that you'll live for another 40 or 50 more. I mean, 40 or 50 more years.
No,
I'm not sure.
Guaranteed. No, it's absolutely guaranteed. I will not live for another 40 or 50 years.
Yeah. I'm not sure even 40 or 50 minutes, to be honest. So this
Although
guy
the good thing about being in Ukraine is it's very much on the straight and narrow for me, because there's not really a hedonistic place. Everyone's just quite chilled. If you do go out to a cocktail bar and you see people drinking, they'll have one cocktail and go home. So I'm still living very clean and healthy. Very boring, but actually quite nice waking up without a hangover.
Yeah. So Dylan says, any advice for an abnormally short bloke? Done a fair bit of cold approach, had decent success, but still feels subconsciously a bit held back. But the thing is, if you've had decent success, then why is it even really a question? I mean, you already know that you can do it and it can happen. So just ignore the negative thoughts about, oh, you're too short or whatever, because you've already proven the concept.
I wonder how short Dylan actually is. I mean, the obvious thing to do is just get platforms in your shoes, add 3 inches.
Yeah.
Right? Mr. Justin put a good point here, actually. The models can be useful for guys who agree and that have zero clue what to do until they're comfortable. And that was exactly how they were introduced from Torero. Get comfortable with this.
Yeah. And even Torero himself just said, look, this is training wheels. And, you know, he's right. That's all it was ever meant to be.
Yes.
And then,
5'2" Dylan.
Yeah. Robbie, what's the practical way of improving one's vibe? Is it basically just developing your personality? Well, I mean, if we could answer this succinctly in the next 2 minutes, then we would be multi-millionaires or billionaires. And that's why you have to come and train with us one-on-one, because it's
basically, if you had to distill it down, it's basically enjoying your experience on planet Earth, right? And you kind of suck people into that vibe. So you're always self-amusing, you're fun, you're enjoying life, you enjoy what you do and who you are, right? And that seems a bit existential, I guess, but people are sucked into that. They can feel that energy. Yeah. So it's not about trying to be someone, not necessarily. It's just, trying to build a life you don't want to run away from. Actually enjoy everything you're doing within that life as much as you can.
Yeah. Dylan says he's 5'2".
I mean, it could be one for the old Midnight Express. I've had a couple of clients who do that. They go to Turkey, get one leg broken, the tendon stretched. There was one guy who was 5'9" before he went to Turkey. Then I caught up with him again. He was 6'2", so he went from a lot shorter than me to taller than me, and he seemed very happy with it. I mean, it's a long old thing, 6 months to full repair, 3 months a leg, but he was very happy with it.
So, yeah, I mean,
Extreme, isn't it? But then again, if you've got a real issue with it, and I'm not saying Dylan at 5'2", you have to do that, but you could. I'd definitely put some platforms in your shoes. I mean, I'd bring you up to 5'6", 4 inches, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but he's already said that he's had success with cold approach. So, I mean, as soon as you know, if you've done it once, you can do it again. I think
go to places well with shorter women. Like we often say to clients, when I go out to Mexico, Colombia, because women tend to be pretty small there, and you still will be above their height.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got one here. This is definitely one for you, Mr. Francis. Justin James.
What's this? Is it better to be narcissistic or humble dating wise? Do you feel you're better than other men, or have the humble mentality of having to work hard to get the most out of it? Well, no, I think it's better to believe that you are better than other men. And whatever grounds you have for believing that, it doesn't really matter.
Well, it's not even about men. I think the first question is more relevant. The first sentence is about to be narcissistic or humble dating wise. So how you present to the woman is way more important than worrying about other men. So, one of our former coaches presented very well as a narcissistic person. Where that hamstring to women, it's great. But where it hamstrings you is if you put that into the rest of your life and then think you don't have to do any of the leveling up the rest of your character because you're better, that hamstrings you. But absolutely, you talk about this a lot. Playing this kind of narcissistic character, women are falling all over themselves for you, aren't they? And when we try and be humble and nice, they couldn't give a fuck. They're like, fuck this clown, forget that. Because the girl wants you to be better than her and wants you to believe you're genuinely better than her.
Yeah. So, but short answer, yes, it's better to be narcissistic in a dating context specifically. But you also, and we have, again, ongoing conversations with clients about this, you've also got to be, behind closed doors, you've got to be ruthlessly honest and say, okay, what areas do I actually need to improve in? And you've got kind of got a
public-facing narcissism, isn't it? Public-facing, I mean, superiority with women, or the frame that I love to put with women, amuse mastery. You're the unfuckwithable adult masculine. She's the equivalent of the little girl making noise, right? The childlike feminine, your 8-year-old niece. How would you interact with her? In a loving, not condescending way. You wouldn't take it seriously. You'd ruffle her feathers. That's how you should be with women. So clearly you think you're superior, but you're not doing it in a I am superior way. But then behind closed doors, as Troy says, you've got to be relentlessly honest, almost that David Goggins accountability mirror at the end of each day, right? Where am I deceiving myself? Where can I level up? Where am I losing myself here? What do I need to do to get better? So it's a two-faced thing.
We know one guy, and I mean, it's quite funny because he, actually one of the few people that I've come into contact with who's like this, who will interpret everything as positive about himself. It's like, she really liked me, she loved me, blah blah blah, and I mean, you've got to hand it to him. It's actually quite impressive, isn't it?
Well, again, what is reality, right? It's just your perception. So it's way better to have that vibe of like, I've just spoke to that girl and she's literally going to go home and touch herself to the memory of me. Than not. Most guys have completely the opposite. They're just, as Mr. Justin says, they just loathe themselves and they're very self-deprecating, not in a playful way. Just don't think much of themselves. I mean, he's got completely the opposite. Probably to a slightly delusional degree, if we're being brutally honest, but way better to just genuinely believe that's the case than not.
Yeah. And then that's it, really. Well, I mean, this one, Torero stuff doesn't hold up anymore. No, it does. It does hold up. It definitely does hold up. It's just that, you've got to be realistic and you've got to understand that. And look, it's not that Torero never said this or never acknowledged this, but it's not just about, okay, I'm going to read, his day game guide and then that's going to be it. And I'm just going to go out and say some lines and it's all going to be amazing. Because we know guys who do that and they don't get results. Not because of Torero. It's not that Torero was saying anything that was wrong or that isn't helpful in 2025. It's just the way that you do it. And that's the big missing piece, which again comes down to that question the guy had about vibe. What does it really mean? And we've been trying to teach this for years and it's very difficult to it's difficult to encapsulate it, but it's how you show up. And I mean, the best analogy I thought of this recently was, imagine like a great actor reading, I don't know, I said a poem, but imagine him reading, you know, just whatever, like a paragraph, reading out, versus some dude from the pub, right? Who's going to bring more resonance and poetry and emotion and passion into it? Well, probably the trained actor, right? But it's the same words. So, you know, you can see from an example like that you can say exactly the same words, but somebody else is going to bring a different energy to it than you. And that's where the difference lies, I believe. That's what really turns the dial. But it's one of the most intangible things, one of the most difficult things to teach, probably.
And it's something that comes when you start relentlessly taking action with on the women front, but also leveling up your character. You start to develop a kind of a self-belief and a vibe, and obviously it's life experience as well, isn't it? Realizing that, okay, memento mori is a big thing for me. Realizing, okay, I'm going to be dead soon. Why am I taking any of this too seriously? I think men have a tendency with game, despite its name, to be way too serious with this stuff, and actually being self-amusing. And although it's arguably the most important thing you can do to commit to leveling up in the dating world, because ultimately you're just a hairless ape. You're born, you reproduce, you die. Even if you don't reproduce, you know, mating is incredibly important. It's incredibly serious, but you've also got to go the opposite way and really not take it too seriously. See women as these childlike objects, not really taking seriously. Have fun with it. Enjoy the rejection. Have a laugh about it. Because if you can hold those two paradoxes together, you get very far very quickly. Whereas the guys that take it really seriously, this grind set, you know, that's why there's such a big attrition rate with the guys we teach. They just take it way too seriously and get burnt out, and they just want to go and hang themselves, literally, because they get a few rejections. You've got to enjoy it. I'm more fatty it. Enjoy it all, right? Enjoy the process of leveling up. Accept that as a man, in any arena, as you level your character up, you're going to get loads of rejection, but you interpret that as feedback along the journey, rather than a permanent state of I'm not good enough.
Yeah, right? Yeah, definitely. And then Dylan, besides the psychedelics, have things like manifestation and spirituality been help on your journey, or have you found it a bit woo-woo? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Speaking for myself, I think manifestation. I mean, manifestation is a really interesting thing. It is a little bit woo-woo. Does it work? I think there's something in it. I don't think you can just say, "Oh, I'm going to manifest $1 million in my bank account. It's just going to turn up." But I think there is something in visualizing yourself as a particular character, and then sort of becoming that character over time, and then things being drawn to you because of that. I think there is something in that. Spirituality, yeah, probably. I'm not the. I mean, religion, not really, but spirituality, probably yes. I mean, it's a cornerstone of recovery, which I'm in. So I've kind of got to be signed up to spirituality, and it has helped me. It's an ongoing battle with the self, I think, really, that. But yeah, I mean, definitely for myself, I'd say so.
Yeah, I think for me, I just like psychedelics. Like,
well, there you go. Could be
this could be the final. This is a great callback from Justin James, and we'll make this the final one. And if you guys want to join us again, we will be back on streams in the next few days while Troy's in Prague, but also Bogot, end of October, the big boot camp, House of Seduction. Live with the trainers a week, breathing this stuff, you know, day game, night game, after parties, and then Warsaw, 25th to 28th of September. Those are the only two boot camps we're running this year. So come to either one of those, and we've got, I think it's 2 spaces left for Bogota, 2 spaces left for Warsaw, 3 spaces left for Bogota.
Yeah. So drop us an email, troy@realfrancis.com or info@jamestuss.com. So
yes.
So Justin said, yeah, could being narcissistic mean that someone may not take as much action dating wise though, as in I don't need to work as hard. What do you think?
So I think this is akin to who I was talking about before, someone we used to know quite well and we've kind of drifted out of touch with, still like, but you know, it's easy to see this in other people, isn't it? Where not being narcissistic in a playful way and knowing that you're playing a bit of a role because it satiates a woman's hypergamy. She wants to make a cross and up. She wants to be with a guy who she considers a giant, who is better than her. Being narcissistic in a dating sense, where you think you're God's gift to women, is actually a very healthy thing to do, ironically. But outside of that, you have to be relentlessly honest and level up your character like there's no end. And that's where narcissism will work against you because you don't think you have to put in the work. So
Yeah.
If you're aware of this stuff, you've got to do the reps, right? We always say 30 approach a week. If you're not doing that, if you're approaching 3 a week and you're like, oh, well, it should just be happening for me. Yeah, that's delusion, right? You need to be.
Yeah. I know what he's getting at, and I think there are guys out there who are like that. You know, they are maybe good looking and maybe come from a wealthy background, and they just sort of think, oh, I don't need to do anything, and women just come to me. And maybe sometimes they do. Maybe sometimes they do for guys in that situation, but that's not the reality for 99% of men. So you can have a mixture of a sort of, let's say, healthy narcissism. That maybe is an oxymoron. Maybe that doesn't exist, but you can have a sort of a narcissistic frame, but also take action as well. You can imagine Christian Bale as in American Psycho as Patrick Bateman. You know, he's the kind of guy who is narcissistic, but would probably just walk up to a table of women or even guys and women and just introduce himself because he thinks he's worthy of it. So he's taking action, but he's also narcissistic. There's not a scene like that in the movie, I don't think, but you could imagine him doing that. And I think that's
that's interesting. Does he not cold approach in the movie? He's already got the girls he's dating. And then he does a me and calls around 2 hookers and a load of cocaine. I mean, the former.
Because he's dating Reese Witherspoon in the movie, and there's one of the greatest breakup scenes ever at the end, where right at the end, after he's done all the, well, has he or not, but all of the killings have happened and everything, and he's sitting in a restaurant with her, and she's banging on about like some wedding or something, and he says, "I think we should break up," and she says, "What? But we've got this wedding coming up, and this and that and that." He says, "I just don't like you very much." Or no, he says, "I just don't care about you very much." And then just gets up and walks out. Just stone cold, you know? It's really, really good.
I've got to rewatch that. I'm currently rewatching 20 minutes into watching Fight Club again.
Fantastic.
But I'm going to rewatch Black Swan and Eyes Wide Shut. I've got those loaded on my fake tap, my
yeah. You should watch The Godfather. You should watch the Godfather movies again, actually. Really, really great. Really fantastic. And there's some really good examples in there, actually, of sort of not eye contact in a simplistic sense, but what's communicated just through the gaze rather than verbally.
Did you ever watch Gomorrah? So it's kind of a modern Italian mafia series that got rave reviews. I watched a couple of episodes. It was really, really, really good, actually. It's called Gomorrah.
Yeah. No,
and Once Upon a Time America was good as well. I don't know if you ever watched that. James Caan.
Yes, I have seen that. Interestingly, there's some talk about a new adaptation of American Psycho, a slightly darker and more true to the book, apparently. But I think the Christian Bale one, I still think is always going to be a classic, I think.
When he's flexing in the mirror as well, like headphones on, with 2 women in the bed, and they're just watching him like, what's he doing? Yeah. Vicky Cristina Barcelona. It isn't Torero that's mentioned this. Is Mr. Justin. Excellent cold approach scene. Yes, Javier Bardem. Basically, just how would you describe his vibe in that? Nonchalant, playfully detached, isn't he? He's just like throwing stuff out there, just couldn't give a fuck whether they accept it or not, but kind of engaged and wanting it to happen. He wanted them, but he didn't need.
Yeah. There's also a very awkward cold approach scene in Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, actually, when he goes into the office of I forget who's the actress. Someone will know. Maybe it's Diane Keaton. He goes into her office and sort of asks her out, and then he takes her to a porn cinema for their first date. He comes up and he buys her a bunch of flowers and he takes her to a porn theatre off Times Square.
It's quite a gangster first date, isn't it, really?
I mean, you know, self-amusement, right? I mean...
Self-amusement. Is that the frame he's operating from with that?
No, I think he's just a nutter. But it's quite funny anyway. So,
on that playful note, we shall commence again tomorrow. We can talk about narratives maybe one day.
Yes.
And how to spin a yarn, you know, because it's all about caffeinating the habits. The biggest sex organ we have with women is between our ears, right? The brain.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, if anyone
marinate a story, create an archetype, right? Play that role. That's what turns interest to lust to obsession. And I've actually played around with it a fair bit with this kind of grey area Brazilian dating app, just to see. And it's interesting the kind of results that come from actively trying to create archetypes and leaning into them and seeing what women do. And there's certain ones that it's crazy, right? How it is just a mind game, if you could accept that.
Yeah, no, it really is. That'd be a really interesting topic. In the meantime, if anyone else has got any suggestions for topics, put them in the comments below. Or we're just going to go to ChatGPT and ask it what the best topics are. So it's your choice.
What do you reckon the boss would come up with if we asked it? Because I'm going to search this now. But what's your guess on what the boss will say if we go right?
Well,
no, because I'm going to put in James Tusk and Troy France are doing a live stream to capture clients to Warsaw. give me only one topic that's going to have the biggest ROI. I'm going to literally put that. What do you think it's going to say?
I think if I did it on mine, it would be something kind of similar to what you just said, actually, creating a mythic identity, because that's kind of what I go on about a lot, what it talks to me about a lot. So stepping into your myth, but also before you do that, you've got to know what your myth is. So how do you know that? So I think it's something along those lines.
And of course, Mr. Justin is well versed in creating these narratives as well. So if any guys are looking to work on their dominance skills, get in touch with Search Dominance Academy online, and you'll find he's a master at helping men create narratives and lean into that more dominant frame with women.
Indeed. Good stuff. All right, guys. Many thanks for tuning in. And join us in Warsaw in September, or join us in Bogota for a full live-in residential in October. info@jamestuss.com or realtroyfrancis.com for more details. We'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.